So this is the second lecture of the series. In this lecture we are going to look at how to import dataset and how we will work with dataset. Um, in order to work with the dataset, we will need to know what softwares and tools that we will be using with in order to start working, kind of a boot camp of this whole course. We will be using Google Collaboratory, and Google Collaboratory is very similar to Jupyter Notebook. Jupyter Notebook in Python has to be installed manually, but you don't have to go through all the stresses of installing and configuration. Google Collaboratory for Google Collaboratory, you will just need a Google account and you will be able to log in and start using Google Collab. All you just need to do is go to the Google Collab link, which I will show you in the video as well, but right now we are concentrating on the slides. As you are seeing right now in the slide number 1, you are seeing a lot of topics that we will be covering in this whole course. Data pre-processing, which we are currently standing on, regression, classification, clustering, and all that, right? Going down all the way to dimensionality reduction and model selection and boosting. So this is the essential nutshell chapters of these, and they will have a lot of subtopics inside. This is just a first or second lecture that we are working on. So it's a series of machine learning models that we are going to be going through. In section 2, which is under data pre-processing, it's a subfolder, and there you will see we are going to look at the Python based development, but R language based development is also there. But first of all, we want to focus all the way to the Python course, so we will be using IPA-YNB files, which are trademark of Google Collaboratory file when you try to save them. So you are seeing this is a template file that we will be working on, and this is the actual file that we will be working on for data pre-processing lecture, which we are covering today. And then there's a data.csv file. Main thing that you need to remember is that everything is uploaded on the Google Drive, so that you are be able to link. If you are using Jupyter Notebook, then you have to give the path to the location of the file where this where that file will be located, whether it's located on your system or somewhere else externally. In Google Collaboratory, we have a process, a very two-step way process, just to link the file. Very easy, if as long as it's available on your Google Drive, on your drive, actually on your physical drive, you will just upload that file, and then your Google Collaboratory will be pointing to that location automatically, and you can just upload and do the things. So if you look at a data.csv file, the data.csv file is just a combination of very small data set, just 10 rows, not enough for training. But the main focus of this course of ours is look at the data and then find the prediction. So we don't want to be data intensive in this course. We have less data, but if this data is marked up to a higher level of rows, you will still not have to worry about that, because if your data is for the most part stays the same or similar actually, then you don't have to worry about that. So there are 3 columns which are the deciding factor whether user has purchased the car, yes or no, based on their salary. So if the user lives in these countries and they have this particular age and they have this particular salary, whether they purchase the car or not, it's a prediction that we are trying to make. So we will have this data set, and obviously we are seeing some null values which we have to deal with as well. We will deal with them in this series of lectures, in the early series of these lectures, pretty soon. As you are seeing, the lecture talks about importing the dataset and libraries. So we are going to focus on two things at the moment: importing the libraries and importing the dataset. We are going to focus on these two parts. We are going to break down every single thing into small pieces so that we are able to understand the um, whole course this way. And good news is, importing the dataset process will almost be similar. There's another dataset importing process that I was looking at, was very similar to this, which if I'll find out again, if I'm able to find that slide, I will go over that slide as well. But at the moment, just keep yourself focused on this one. So our main focus for this is importing the libraries and importing the dataset. Obviously, while taking the advantage of this lecture, I will go through that little bit more of what we are going to see. As you are seeing, importing the dataset, importing the libraries, dataset, taking care of missing data, encoding the categorical data, splitting and feature scaling. I would not like to include all of them in one lecture. I would like to slowly and gradually bring it to you. For my lectures, I am kind of contradictory to what I'm going to say right now, but I will not be typing too much. I will let the slides talk, and I will not type throughout this course too much, because I'll make a lot of typing mistakes, and I'm not very good in fast typing like the other YouTubers are, so you will miss that part. But I would urge you guys that you guys do a lot of typing. This is where I'm saying I'm very contradictory to what I'm saying, because this is the only way you will learn the programming. But for my part, for my take, I will not be coding that much. I will be showing you with the help of slides, so you are able to understand more of the concepts, not focusing on my typing. So this is indeed the data set that you will be going to be working with. Just giving you a little bit of feel what we have done. So let's say if we are talking about the first two steps, importing the libraries and importing the data set. Once the data set is imported, we wanted to see actually what is actually being imported into the imported variables of the data set. But I'm going to, so that is why you are seeing just underneath importing the data set, there are two statements. One is for importing the data set, and the other one is for printing the data set itself. And this is just a and these are independent variables, and the dependent variables is the one that we wanted to predict. So in machine learning terms, if you talk about independent variables are all these features that you are looking at, and the combination of all these features are called independent variables, and the predicted variable is your y cap, or the purchased column. So we will take up all the first three columns as an x, and then we will take that column D as our y, and we'll try to make sure that the prediction is getting made is correct or incorrect. But it will be based on our model that we'll be doing it. So we'll want to make sure that if we are going to print it, it prints out correctly. So as you can see, I'll go through these few lines of code, this and this shortly, but let's assume that you understand this part and this part. X is printed out as the first three columns, and your y is the last column that you wanted to predict. How it is being written here in this Google Collaboratory is just, we're gonna talk about that. So once the X part, which is this part, A, B and C columns are imported, how they are what is it is going to be looking like in our um, Google Collaboratory. It looks like this. And the next thing, if I wanted to see how does my y variable look like, which is true or false or purchased or not purchased or all that, it is being laid down as 1 or zeros in here. So that is why the printing is done. And then there's a lot of other topics that we are talking about, but we are not going to worry about that. As I said, we are going to worry about these topics. In the next lectures, we are going to be looking at taking care of missing data and all that, encoding and categorical data and feature scaling. But for now, we're going to keep ourselves focused on that. So let's empty up our Google Collaboratory document and just leave them as a headings and take out the code part, so we can do that. Usually if you have the IPAY-NB file, I usually try to make two copies. One is the actual copy, which is the original copy, and then I will create a copy of that pre-processing tool and remove all the line of codes and start pasting and start putting those lines back again, so that we know what is going to be we are going to put in there and what is each line means. And that's how you learn coding in Python as well, or any other programming language, by copying it, by knowing what each line means actually, right? So that's why at the moment, just think of it, you are given a blank check or blank sheet or a canvas, and now you are going to work on it. So everything is gone, everything is trash, nothing is in there, and it's an empty sheet like this. Once you have that empty sheet, you will be importing the libraries and importing the dataset. Let's start doing that. Once you click on here, and you will click on, once you are standing here and click on code plus sign here, it will open up this line of code for you. So this is a kind of a comment line, and underneath you will be writing that. 3 libraries that we will be importing day in and day out will be import numpy as np, import matplotlib and as plt, and import pandas as pd. Numpy is represented as np. You might be saying why we are using it as np or as plot or as pd, so that we will not be using the explicit names, we are just going to be using their variable names. So as np, as plot, as pd. We are not looking at too much of the plotting side of the things in this course. It's obviously good to visualize the data in terms of graphs, but wherever I find it necessary, I will just show you those if it is necessary. So as you can see, purchased, which is our dependent variable y, is yes or no, yes, no, or 0 or 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, whatever, wherever the 0 is for no and y is for yes. Yes for is for 1. So the first line of code, these 3 libraries that you will need to be importing. I urge you to type these in Google Collaboratory. In my side, I'm not going to type it, as I'm not typing it. You are seeing this is just a PowerPoint slide. Dataset is actually a data frame, and pandas data frame is actually just like a consider it like an Excel file or Excel sheet imported into Python. You can name it as dataset. A lot of people call it as df, dataset ds, or dataset variable, whatever the name of the variable it, right, it doesn't really matter. And you can import from the pandas library, because you are using the pandas pd.read_csv. It could be an Excel file, so the method will change, but for the most part you are going to be calling a method read_csv, read_excel, or read_ blah blah blah, whichever the way you want to read the data. Right now we are reading the CSV file, so we are okay with that. So we will be looking at that in a moment. And then this is the important part. You are importing the file name called data.csv. So far so good. You are importing 3 libraries, and then dataset is just like an Excel sheet imported into your Excel, into your Python, and the name of the file where it is going to be reading. Now question arises, where is that data file is currently? As I said, the data file is actually on your system, but the you need that file to be uploaded to the Google Collaborate. So hang tough on that. We are going to look at this. Dataset.ilock, and then ilock function reads the rows and columns. So if you have colon, it means rows, and then columns, and then comma means just the whole set of columns except the last column, right? So this is, and there's another way to write it as well in an easier English way, but this I usually call it all of the rows. Okay, so this sad kind of face with one this is how you can memorize it. It just excludes the last column, and this is a given. This happy face on the other side, starting with this happy face here, is showing you that you want to select all the rows. So the sad face means, oh, you are actually omitting the last column. Yeah, I actually am omitting the last column. So this is how you can memorize it. Otherwise sometimes people have difficulty understanding it. In general, if I say that -1 means except the last column, because you start with 0 and go all the way all the columns, -1 means the last column. But when you say -1 means it actually stops one less than the last column, so it will actually exclude the last column and bring out all the other columns. In general, if you want to speak it like that, but if it is hard for you to memorize, this is how you can easily memorize it. The happy face, and not a sad face, just a silent face with -1. So this is how you're going to memorize it. And the last piece is understanding the why part. Copying and pasting the same line. Let me see if we are going to do it a lot of times, so you can master it like a pro, but easier way is to just keep it that way. And here you go. All the columns, all the rows, but you also want to include just the last column. So you remove the happy face and you just keep the nose and the lips of that for Y, and that's how you can memorize it again. So this is how you usually separate the Y column out. So X, I already explained you. For the Y, just remove this column, just remove the eyes here, and you are good to bring that. But the more you practice, it is more of a, I would say, a Python topic. If you understand how to work with Python arrays or Python 2-dimensional array, then it will be a lot more easier for you to understand. But if you don't understand that, this is a small cheat sheet kind of part that I'm giving you. What if the column is in the middle, the prediction column is in the middle, not at the last column? Then you might want to just adjust that Excel sheet or that CSV file if you want to. If you don't want, and then you can go your way like this way all the time. If you don't want to memorize all that Python code, or your best bet is to go back to the Python and understand the array concept, and then bring those changes accordingly in the ilock, right? So this comes with the practice. But if you don't want to practice it and you want to make this same way your method all the time, you can do this. So different companies, wherever you work, will come with different strategies. And as I told you, there's a whole different way of writing this as well, in terms of more of a syntactical English way rather than just writing these. But we will come back to it once I'll find that lecture as well, because I was finding it having fun and a lot of important, because having an alternate way gives you a little bit of breathing space all the time in programming. So here you go. And now the last part is adding that CSV file. As I was mentioning, that CSV file is actually not residing under um, your Google Collaboratory. So you need to import that file. So you click on here uh, in this folder kind of section, and the next thing it will say, where is that file? And you can browse that file wherever it is located on your system, and you can bring in that file. So I will start to provide the files and put that under the description, or the link for that if you want to download it. I will put that under there, but I want to see how many guys started to like this lecture as well, so you have interest in it. So I will going to be putting this data.csv file and upload it in the video section of it, or maybe I'll make a JIT library for this where I will be putting all this stuff and providing links there. So anyways, coming back to it, you browse to that file and you upload that file, and then that file become the part of this Google Colab sheet, I would say, IPYNB file. And when you run this, you play this one, and then you play this one as a secondary, you will be getting the output. So that's where I want to stop, and that's where my slides are ended as well. So you run this line, and then you run this next line, and you run the third line and the fourth line, and you will get the data frames, parts of the data frames. Actually, the X is the data frame here, and Y is another data frame, or series, panda series you call it. Thank you.